remember a French guy waiting in the queue, like we're so stressed out, and the guy, I still remember his words. He told us, you are the victims of your own success.
Welcome and welcome back. Hi Florian, how are you doing?
Hello Mario. I'm good. Excited for today.
That's a very special show today. Before we start, Florian, what was the best food experience you ever had on one of the trips to Korea? What was it that you still remember after so many years?
I remember quite a lot of good food experiences in South Korea, but actually when I was there for the very first time together with our friend Hassan, we had a business dinner in one of the Korean barbecue places. So we had the dinner and grilled everything on the table. And then our business partner and we said goodbye. We left, but the food was so good. And as soon as he was out of sight, we turned around and went back in again and ordered another round of beef and grilled it for ourselves again. Because it was just so it was so good.
You came back a second time. But maybe Florian, maybe that's the success of our guests here. We have today a very special podcast, as I said, because it's the first time we have two guests at the same time at our show, actually brothers, who founded together Mmaah, and if I researched correct, that's the expression which they used when they have been young and some food was great, what the mother cooked, and they said Mmaah. And it's Andreas J and Sebastian Sung Chu Lechle, and as you see or hear in their names, they've grown up between Germany and Korea, so actually between currywurst and bulgogi, if we stay in the main foods. In 2013, they opened their first Mmaah, which is a Korean barbecue express, fast food but healthy, and very street food inspired. In the meantime, they have been growing it to over 10 stores, or actually at the moment 10 stores, but one is in construction, I think. 8 in Berlin, 2 in Munich, and the 2 in Munich are franchise owned. The stores are between 60 and 100 square meters. 50% of the sales is delivery, 9 million total sales. So we're going to see the double-digit sales next year. Actually, they said 13 million they're going to do this year. Very good. And they employ over 120 people. Welcome, dear brothers in Berlin. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thanks for the invitation, Mario. We're having a great late summer in Berlin, so we're enjoying the best days still before the hard winter is coming. And we're happy to have you here or to talk to you and share some of our experiences.
Yeah, perfect. Guys, as I said, it's the first time we have two entrepreneurs and brothers. We had sometimes brothers, but only one showed up. And then it was pretty clear how is the dynamic in the family if we invite both and only one show up. So I want to touch a little bit before we go to the struggles and doubt, the difficulties, challenges, but also advantages to run a business as brothers. And I also would especially like to talk about how decisions are made, and especially difficult decisions between brothers. So who wants to pick that up on how you're going to run a business as brothers? Do you recommend that to any brothers out there? And how it is to make difficult decisions?
Maybe I can speak about this point, but as you said before, Mario, it's not always easy as brothers, but when it works, I think it's the best constellation you can have. We were young, of course, as brothers, me being the 3 years older than Sebastian, we had our struggles for sure. So until the age of 15, 18, I think, we had all the fights, like the common between brothers. But also, like, we were always super close. So I think before starting the business, we had to sort things out that how the brothers are going to be, that there's no one who's like the dominant part that we can work really like on the same equal level actually. And as for it worked out really well because I always knew my brother is really talented. I always thought like he's super talented. I felt like once we're doing something together, it's going to be really successful. I was 100% sure of it. Sebastian needs some time to be convinced, I guess, but we took our time, and when we started the business, we were sure that it would work out. So all the fights, all the struggles were done in the past, and we found our peace. And for the question of decision making, I think, we always speak through every important kind of decision ahead of us. And we discussed it thoroughly. In the end, we always find a solution, like where I can be happy with it, and Sebastian too. So actually, we never had the problem of he's 100% against and I'm 100% for that. So it's a process of a discourse where we find a solution, really like by speaking and debating the pros and cons. And in the end, we find a solution which normally is not so wrong. So
it seems like, because you're on a success front, we also had Mmaah here, and she's running Nanny with like 3 out of her 4 sons. And she told us if one of them in the family has a bad feeling, so everybody can veto it. If one of them, that's more than 2, so they actually altogether 5 with Haya, feels bad, we don't do that. Is that the same with you? If one says no, it's no? Is that as easy?
Yeah, I think sometimes we have the case where one is so convinced that he says, regardless of all doubts which could exist, I'm so sure of my decision. And then I think there's the trust of the other part that I just follow when he's so sure about it. But I think on the other hand, when you have a situation where you still carry some doubt with you and you're not 100% sure, then you really want to discuss it through, and you want to think of all the possibilities that could be could be a problem or could be a risk which you haven't considered. So I think it's a very natural dynamic, as you said, like in the case of the family members, which are 4. I think when one has a really strong doubt, that it's even stronger than the belief of the other. So it's a balancing, a harmony thing. So because sometimes somebody sees something that the other doesn't see so clearly, but when you're so convinced of it that you say, okay, even considering your doubts, I'm sure we're gonna make this right, like in the way I'm supposing. Then I think there's just this trust at the end of the day, and there's no fighting or giving guilt to one another, because it's a convincing process. The other way around, when your doubt is so big that you say, okay, regardless of your positive approach to this or at that point, I just have to give my veto because I don't feel comfortable with it. Then I think it's the other way around, that the trust is there, that you say, okay, when you see such a big problem, there must be something in it, and I trust you. So I think at the end of the day, with the brother relation, and I think there are very different kind of brother relations, despite having the same parents. I think at the end of the day, it's about harmony and the relationship you really have. And sometimes we see people that work like almost as brothers from different mothers, as you say, but the harmony is in place. So I think that's probably the
you definitely look very strong together, and I think also your success story shows that. I want to take another nuance on this family thing, and it's basically the balance within the family. We had a lot of this family business, and very strong sentences here said, family second, business first. And then obviously we had a lot of the people who didn't like that at all and took another stand. As your business is very dominant in your life, because you set it up very early in your career, how much room can you really keep between you both as brothers, but also within the family for normal family life? Or is really the business taking over every holiday, every communication, every birthday, every Sunday dinner? How you keep sane, or how you keep the business out of the family, or you don't try to do that? How is that?
Yeah, I think we have both like two little kids, and of course we have a family life, and we try and not to be overwhelmed 100% or eaten by the business. But the funny thing is, after spending the time with our families, and we have really, really nice families and a good relationship with our wives as well, then usually we meet outside at the night and we speak about business again, because it's a passion about it. It's really like, it's not work sometimes, but it's about realizing our vision, and then it gets fun again. So we really like, it's astonishing like how much time we spend together, but we stay here in the office for most of the days. Yeah, of course we are playing different roles in the company, but still we're spending a lot of time together. Then we go home, we have dinner, we have some time, we spend some time with the kids, and they usually, like, when the kids are in bed, sometimes we meet again. And this is really like, we do that kind of always. So sometimes it's a bit, maybe it might feel a bit strange for outsiders, but for us, it's the way how we used to live since we were little, I think. And
full dedication and passion. That's nice to hear, but it's also nice to hear that you keep this room, although you spend so much time. I mean, there's still you create the room for the true family life. I want to travel back at the beginning, guys, and you know that I always talk about the beginning of the business and the Schwellenangst, the fear of threshold and borders, and how overcoming it is for some difficult. I read up that you guys had both good jobs before you set up the business. Was there any struggle at the beginning with this Schwellenangst to say, okay, guys, should we really leave our job, or you were convinced about your mission? Was there any doubt in this early stage, setting up your Imbissbude, as you call even your first store by yourself? Was there any Schwellenangst?
I think at the beginning there was no Schwellenangst at all. I think we were really convinced that we wanted to do something as brothers. So this was even above doing a certain business. It was more like, let's do a project together where we can live together and work together, because nobody wants to spend his life with colleagues he doesn't really care about. And I think the doubts, they come more along the path when you really have to overcome difficulties and you start to hit the bumpy road. But I think what really brought us so far is we always had a great portion of enthusiasm, and we started with our vision. We always said, okay, let's battle McDonald's, and I think we are in a really good way on that, doing it, because like all our systems we prepared for the last 10 years, and all our structures we have been working on we see the result of the work of our preparation, that the enthusiasm never came to a point where it got killed. Of course, you come to the points where you really think, okay, this is much harder than I thought, but yes. But not to the point that you say, okay, I have to give up because I don't see it anymore.
Yeah, I think that to Mario's question, if it was a threshold we had to overcome before starting the business, I think we did we achieved the vision for our parents. So like our parents wanted us to study, to do the masters and all the things, and work for an international kind of organization.
Like all of our parents.
Yeah. So you have to struggle yourself free from your parents' expectations. And for us, we did our homework, but for us it was always clear that it's not, how they say, like it's not the courage to go a new way that is ours, but for us, the way which was planned for us was never our thing. So actually, it was not the courage we had to. It was just no other option left. You work for someone, you do your own thing, and actually that's for us. So we didn't have this fear to start something because we knew like once we're doing it together, then I think here we have a road to hit. And
it was rather the other way around, because when you look at it objectively, we both really worked hard to get like these high level jobs at the ministry and World Bank and these kind of high level international really competitive jobs. So it wasn't easy to get these jobs because there's a long selection process and so on just to get to this point. But for us, we were both in places like these, both speak 5 languages, playing 3 instruments, and all like this very hardcore kind of educational background.
Like Dragon Mom,
to prepare kind of road. And we were so unhappy with it that it was the other way around, that it wasn't the Schwellenangst, it was like, okay, we're so happy just to start our own thing. Exactly.
But I assume your parents are very proud of you right now. Because
the first thing my mother made, she stopped speaking to us. Really, like that was in our first store. She stopped the contact for a year, and then she recovered, of course.
Really? So let's talk a little bit about your stores. I mean, you guys just came back from South Korea, if I remember right. Can you tell us a little bit about your concept? How authentic, basically, is your food that you're offering? Did you made any compromises?
Sure. I can tell you about our food. I think our food is Korean inspired. It's not the traditional, authentic, the cable barbecue that you mentioned before. But we realized that always when we were children, we loved this flavor of the Korean barbecues and all these kind of streets. We liked them so much. But of course, we are here in Germany and we had to simplify things. I think our mission was not to be the fancy hipster kind of concept thing, but we want to target the mass market. So what we had to do is to reduce the complexity of the Korean cuisine in a way that we can put it in a fast food trend, actually. And this was our mission. And of course, with the workforce we had, you can't compare it in no way to the well-educated, motivated Korean workforce here. And still, the flavors needed to be good and also authentic in a way that we made a kind of mixture of things which we can do here and do it like in a kind of European fast food way, but also introduce the real flavors that also Koreans, when they enjoy our food, they say, "Wow, it's really nice. It's simple, but it's really nice," and it reminds me of Korean. Not only reminds me of Korean cuisine, but it feels like Korean food, and this is actually like what we did here.
And I think it always had this very personal note, because we basically took all the flavors we loved most as children, or when we were in Korea and were living in Korea. So there's no how should I say, like educational approach to our cuisine. We just, it was always our word that we just combined the best of 2 worlds. We thought, okay, we know people when we grew up always told us, "Oh, you're half German, half Korean," but we never felt like we were fully 100% Korean, fully German, because we lived in both countries and were educated in both countries. So for us, it was just, we take everything we love and just put it together. And when we love it, we were quite convinced that other people love it. And when you're a child and you're in Korea, you don't necessarily really look for the most like exotic kind of moving octopus kind of dishes. You rather like, we call it always friendly food. We always call it friendly food. So we basically took the friendly selection of the Korean flavors we loved, and we put it in a form which can be organized and really cooked in a very professional way. So I think that was our approach to it.
I remember back in Korea, and I traveled there several times. I had also jellyfish, so I'm not sure if this is friendly food for Europeans. But anyways.
Jellyfish is quite nice when you don't know that it's jellyfish.
Yeah, that's true. So true. You said, and I actually wrote it down because I liked it, let's battle McDonald's. So we recently published a white paper, and one of the theses is actually that life throws you curveballs and you have to manage that somehow, and it doesn't always go straight. So when you started your business, what struggles did you actually have? What were your biggest doubts over your past years with Mmaah, and how did you regain the drive? What came unexpected?
I think one of the most difficult things was that our vision was really high. We never wanted to build like just another fast food chain. What we are actually doing and what we wanted to do, we wanted to invent like a restaurant business 2.0. So we believe that most of what is going on here, what we see is really the same type of business you had 50 years before. Like when we look at concepts like, I don't know, like all the classic burger concepts like Five Guys or so on. What we wanted to do, we wanted to build a challenger which is technologically more advanced than McDonald's and is really leading the industry in terms of efficiency and also quality of products. So we had this very high vision also concerning the use of robotics and so on, like all things we are working on right now, but we had this very high vision and we had no money and
no experience in gastronomy. Like we were, of course, like as students, we cooked our own meals, but I think the thing is, we didn't know how fryer functions, and we didn't have knowledge, and we didn't have any starting capital. So we started with 5,000 euros each, and bought like the cheapest stove we could find in Berlin, and that was our upcoming actually to the stage. And that was really hard because after 2 weeks we realized you have to mop the floor every day. It's just do something for us. It just was a hard reality. Of course, we had a few business mind things also. Like for us, it was clear that once we want to do a fast food kind of chain, like I can cook like one meal by another, and for me it was sure like it needs to be surely clearly what under 1 minute, of course. Then I can prepare a meal. Kind of systematic thoughts we had, but really the harsh reality of cooking, cleaning, having this massive queue in front of our stall, and really like feeling like a zombie invasion because everyone wants something from you. And before sitting in having an experience sitting in an office and writing emails all day long, this was a totally new approach and quite confronting and challenging at the beginning, of course.
Oh, and then I think the very tough part about it is that you had your vision and you pretty clearly know how it should look like, but you have to confront this messy reality and you have to fight your impatience and you have to find your means how you realize that vision. And this is not something that you do in 1 year. Then you always have this gap between like how fast you can move and the vision you're actually having. So I think this was a pretty tough part to really not lose sight of what we really wanted to do and make the connection there.
And what especially did you do then? Because if I understand you right, your vision was one of your biggest drivers, but you also had doubts that it didn't work out, and suddenly reality hits, and it is different.
The zombies came.
The zombies came. So how did you fight those zombies?
I mean, we had to because we just put our jobs, and from the first day on, we had to be profitable. That was what was actually a really hard driver, harsh
For money. Yeah.
The 5,000 euros we had, we just invested in our store, and then we had to earn money. And the harsh reality, of course, came already in the first autumn because we had this outside the food investor, of course, and. We started in the start of August, 11 years ago, and after August comes September and October. The rain starts, and we realized we don't having any guest room and all, and we were like staying like both of us were standing 11, 12 hours in this food store for 7 days a week, and we realized with a raise we make a turnover of 50, 60 euros a day. This is the harsh reality, where we just, of course, had our doubts, but I think giving up wasn't the first
I think what was really like a tough part for us was that we really started hardcore bootstrapped in terms of we constructed our first stores like by ourselves. So we were not talented in terms of using power tools or any kind of these things. So we basically didn't only learn restaurant business, but we learned construction. We built a website. We did everything because we had to learn it and kind of do it ourselves. And I think how we manage these kind of zombies I think where we always were really strong at were that we were really thinking logical about operational processes. So we realized if we don't put the whole thing on a different efficiency level, we cannot manage it because we wanted to have a life. We had to learn 1 million topics by ourselves. We had to run the business, and if you want to do all this at the same time with no money, you are either really clever and ultra efficient, or it just doesn't work. So I think this was always the pressure under which we have been working. So that means if we don't organize our kitchen in a way that it's really profitable, that we can live by it, build the next store with it, and hire people from it, and it just wouldn't work if you don't really think hard about it, how you can put it on the next level, in terms of organization and efficiency.
And guys, if you now look back to this 11 years, and you can close the eyes, but you don't have to, and really picture this one day where you think, okay, the world goes under, it's over, we have to give up. I mean, everybody of us has several of these days, but if I really pick now the drastic one, what would that day be where you really were down? I wouldn't say down and out, because you're still sitting here and you keep on growing, you keep on smiling. But when was that darkest day of the two brothers and Mmaah? What day was that?
Well, we had a few of them.
So, pick the one which is really painful.
Mainly once where we rented our third shop actually, and got it as in Munich in Berlin. It was our third store, and we were really happy that we found a good location for the first time. And then we finished the construction of the whole store for 2 or 3 months. And one day before opening, we got a call from the Bauamt in Berlin telling us that this location doesn't have any permission for running a gastronomy, because the owner who sold us the store was just kind of fraud. We just and then we got the call from the Bauamt. What the hell are you doing here? So.
Yeah, and it was like this kind of Berlin administration thing that the previous guy, he ran the business 15 years illegally, and nobody realized. And when we kind of filed all the formulas for the new opening, they just realized that the store was always been illegally run. So, but I think this was one thing, and we managed. We were really afraid, of course, but we were lucky to have a really nice person at the end of the day sitting in the administration, which helped us to find a solution. And I think the store just went to the second dark day, which was kind of a positive experience. We opened or we planned the store opening, and there was
The second try.
as we were ready to open, and we organized a Facebook event, and the event totally went crazy. We had kind of 4,000 people waiting in the queue, and we were 6 persons working our asses off, I'd say, to deliver food to all these people. And then at the end of the day, like the whole team, including us, was really just like ultra exhausted. There was no room for smiling anymore or being happy about the successful days, or so to say. And we just closed the doors. We realized we have to because back in the day we didn't have like all our sauce suppliers. For example, we still made our own sauces in the shops, and we just realized, okay, for tomorrow we have to make 500 liters of sauce because we ran out of everything. And the people are waiting again because the event was like 3 days. And we were basically just crying because it was just no energy.
I feel with you. It never ends. It never.
We remember a French guy waiting in the queue, like we're so stressed out, and the guy, I still remember his words. He told us, "You are the victims of your own success." It was something really like it still keeps I keep it in my mind because. Once it gets like too troublesome, sometimes you have to. You don't have to forget it's not about life and death. And it was something that, and I had to laugh also at this moment because it was true.
You are the victim of your own success. I like the quote from your French guest. I want to pick the topic. When you start a business quite young and you spend now over 10 years, actually 11 years or more doing that business, you basically grow with the business. And you grow as a human being, you grow as a leader, you grow as a mensch. And I want to take 2 nuances of question there. The first thing is, when growing as a leader or growing the business, what did you learn about yourself? And the second nuance of that question, and maybe each of you pick one, is what did you need to give up as a young entrepreneur? What could you not do what your friends, your peers did? Because I think a lot of people forget if you set up a business quite young and you're all in, it's also hard dedication and there's a lot of sacrifice or compromise or something what you cannot do what others do. So the question obviously as always addressed to both of you, maybe one big swan and the other one there in that field.
For me, it's really a basic truth. You don't die so quickly. For me, it's something I really like. You think you're going to be dying, but you won't die so quickly. So this is something like what I realized always, it's possible to push your boundaries. Even when you think you're super exhausted, you can't go no further, but there's still room before really you get this 100% coverage. So I think this pushes the boundaries, and
I need to jump in here because I just read an interesting quote or research paper on that. There is the main trainer of the special forces in US wrote a book. I will put that into the notes. And he said, when you believe you are at your limit, like when you're done, you are at 40%. So a normal person, there's like, if you believe it's over, as you said, you don't die so quickly, then you're still 60% left. You just need to find a way to harvest that. Obviously, it's unhealthy to run 100% all the time, but there's these moments which you quoted like this, the victim of success, of your own success story. You can power through. So I like that. You don't by so quick. Sorry, guys, I interrupted you.
Yeah, and I think about the point of giving up. It's I wouldn't even frame it so much as giving up because of course we had to give up things in terms of, for example, there was just not a lot of time, for example, to meet friends, or for example, for myself, I played a lot of piano before I started the business. And basically, when I started the business, I was too exhausted and too tired to even use my head, like for a second actively, which I have to use when I play piano. And so there are things you technically give up, but when you're in this enthusiasm, you don't really feel so much that you're giving it up, that you're paying a price. Of course, you're paying a price. And sometimes I realize when I look back, okay, there was a lot of things I actually stopped doing. But in that moment, you're so focused on this one thing that at that time, it didn't feel like I sacrificed it because it just didn't interest me. So it wasn't like, I really want to go to this or that party, but I can't because I have to work. It was more like I want to do my work, and going to the party was less important to me at that point. But I think what for us was always really like a threshold, and especially when we got our children and so on, that you say, okay, I have some things that I really would never sacrifice for the sake of growing the business. Just for example, that you want to spend time with your kids, that you want to spend time with your wife. And I think we are really family-focused guy. Like our whole business is built around it, also with our team and our employees. So then you come to a point where it's very clear, okay, this is not more important than that. So this line, you just don't sacrifice it. But I think the other things are more like they're add-ons. They're nice to do, but it's not like a substantial part of your life that you say, okay, when I don't do it, really
I hear that, and you just said that you're family focused, and we had these discussions with other guests in that show who said family first, business first, back and forth and so on. So I feel that family is an important topic for you, and you also said it goes further to your team and employees. So building and protecting a company culture is substantial. We also learned that over those shows. And be yourself, don't mimic. That is one of the quotes Michael Dura from Develai maybe gave us. What is your taking on that? What is your culture? Did you have to compromise somewhere, or is that how deep goes your culture within Mmaah over the past 10 years?
I think we were quite successful in establishing a really healthy and family-style culture within our core team. It's really like I'm sometimes really astonished, and this is one thing I think we are more proud than anything that we've achieved. It's not about numbers. It's really like when I come into the office and work with my team, it's really, I see a lot of people who are not working as like employees. They really are behind the mission, and they also, when I leave the room, they're still working on the mission. This is something, of course, it was a really hard way to get there, but I think, as you mentioned before, it's about the real thing. It's it's nothing like the mission is really like really felt by the members, and the mission is also something that every member who is working as of here is understand that it will become real, because we've never done any kind of like empty promises. We are the guys who of course think big, but who also like make things happen the way like we promise things to do. So we had always the chance or the luck that the things we planned worked out more or less. So In the time, we were really lucky to find people who we care a lot. So with every one of our team members who were in the core team, I'd call them friends and family, really. And I have no problem going out. I really enjoy it, going out with them and having dinner with them and going party with them. And not now when we're doing it more often, of course, because we're not in the survival mode anymore. But this is something which is really important. I think more important than skill. Someone that needs to be, or we feel like a real person without any like fake things around, so we can trust them and they trust us. And this is something really like which bonds us together. And we try to help wherever we can. And this is really an approach that we're living.
You really you empower your people. You really trust them. So you step back and hand over to them, or how do you do that?
Well, core members. It's not like, of course, from everyone, but the positions which are really set. This is we trust them, and they are doing it in their best will. That's really like what we do. Yeah.
And I think one thing that we never realized so actively was that how we built this kind of company culture. And I think it was very much based on our values that we were sharing as brothers. So as Andreas said, it was, and the whole company, it's of course we focus on numbers in terms of, we know we have to really make an efficient business, but when it comes to people, we think like having a good heart and being loyal and having a good energy is much more important. And this is what we like, how we choose our team and what the team members at the end of the day like feel by their heart, that once we are convinced by someone, we really like want them to be part of the family. And then it's not about making a mistake or not, or always like delivering the greatest results. It's just standing together, supporting each other, like working on the good energy, like giving hope when someone is maybe down, like all these kind of things. And I think people just over the years felt that it's not an empty promise, but that these are the values we share and we believe in. And so after these 10 years, we realized, okay, we built a quite amazing company culture, but it wasn't never like a planned thing.
I want to, before I let Florian ask our signature question at the end, I would like to pick the topic of, let's say, the missing big money or the missing investor. You started very bootstrapped, and it sounded almost painful to start with 2 times 5,000 euro, but it made you a do-it-yourself culture on construction and website, etc. And you ramped up with own restaurants. You just started recently with franchise, and you shared your struggle that even in the third restaurant, which means you already had 2 successful ones, you went all in again and put the money down. Why was it that you never took in other people's money, so to say? And how do you think about that? Because it's quite unique journey, let's put it that way. Why did you take that journey, and how do you see that going further?
I think like one of the main reasons we started the business is that we really wanted to do what we want. And the moment to take money from other people, it's always about like growth numbers and kind of profits. And of course, we want to run a successful business. That's why we care about it, but not because we have to for the sake of paying back some kind of debt or loans. So I think this on the one hand gives us maximum liberty. What was for us always the one of the main reasons why we started the business. And I think the other thing is that we always handled and to make really clever deals, so we get access to quite some money, and we have a really good cash flow. So it's not that we cannot do the things that we want to do, because we lack money. Of course, there will be a point in the future where you will just you can just fuel growth even more if you pour more money into it. But I think that there are how should I say, like, options to take in money without being liable to investors. And I think having a very positive cash flow in the business itself helps you quite a lot to stay independent as long as possible.
Mm-hmm. So the independency, the freedom, the liberty was a driver when you set up the business, and you want to keep that as long as possible, I can hear here. So Florian, hit us with the final one.
Yeah, final question, guys, and it's always interesting to get your point on that. You're 11 years now in the business. If a young entrepreneur reaches out to you in doubt, in trouble, facing roadblocks, what is your toolkit of advices for this person?
Yes, it's a good question, because I think really one of the things to the way to succeed, one of the keys is not to give up so quickly. This is really something, persistence, really, like, it's a really important thing, because of course we had this doubts and about these dark hours also, of course, but we often see that also people who open a business, they close the doors after already like a year, because the sales are never going up. And I think, sticking, not giving up, and also, like, as we said, like, of course, the problem doesn't solve by itself, but once you don't give up, you look for the reason why it's not working, and you're running your analysis. Is the program, is it wrong, or is it? I mean, you have to do it enthusiastically, but also, like, sometimes there are really like big faults in the grand design already. So I think these are the things, like, once you don't give up, you're getting to the core problems and think about them thoroughly and solve them. It's a step by step approach, and of course, as we said before, it's hardship. It becomes difficult. It's physically exhausting, and maybe sometimes you get one step back and don't take it too seriously, and then find the power again to dig into the problems. And I think this is one of our advices. I think that they pay off. Yeah.
All right, that worked out pretty well with two guests for the very first time on our show.
Definitely.
So, no problem.
No problem. I
So,
think
Mario,
also we learned, Florian, before we come to the learning overall, I think we learned why you guys went back the second time for food, because it seems that Koreans are very proud and passionate about their food. I have, as a first learning, it never felt like work. It was never work to us, but passion. And you could feel the passion when he talked about the story that they sit the whole day together, then they go home, bring the kids to bed, and then they read it again. Although they know they see each other in the morning, you could really see this brotherly dynamic works out for them. And he shared very openly about their struggles and fights in the young ages, and that they actually had to grow together and also clean up a little bit. But now this seemed to be a power tool. This supposed to
very interesting in that realm, being brothers in the business, because when in the beginning, when you talk to them, and they immediately started talking about their doubts and struggles and how it actually helped to discuss that amongst the brothers. And he said, even considering your doubts, there is still the trust amongst us. And they developed, obviously, a convincing process to overcome those doubts. So very interesting part of the discussion, I found.
It felt like that they didn't say it specifically, but it felt to me, Florian, that they have this, like, there's always one person of them, one brother, who is more convinced and positive, and he tries to track the other around, and they have a big mission. I mean, he said, "Let's battle McDonald's." I mean,
There you go.
think big. I just say, think big or go home. They really they focused a lot, and they said that when they explained that to us, why on the processes to build the systems, to be leading technology, to be a challenger brand. They said to use robotics early on, and really to be ready. For challenging McDonald's, but they had, and you saw that, they are very smart and intellectual, and they had this high mission they put out. And then they said, the messy reality, the messy, harsh reality came. Yeah. He called them the zombie invasion. So, and zombies came, these lines and lines and lines, and I think he described it well.
Absolutely.
And then the zombies came.
But he said, no, giving up wasn't an option, and you really feel that they are so driven by their mission and they want to accomplish that, even though, as he said, they were hardcore bootstrapped and they did everything by themselves. They had to learn 1 million topics at the same time, and out of this, they actually developed their skill set for working in that industry, thinking logical about operations, making things happen, being efficient, organized, smart. All that stuff actually came to them by being, as they said, hardcore strapped and learning 1 million things at the same time. So, I mean, amazing how they actually did it, no?
Yes, and I think you always see that when there is restrictions and people have to learn that first to find other ways. And then nobody can tell them anything about their business. Now, I mean, they have done probably from repairing dishwasher to fixing the POS
mopping
system, mopping the floors, building the website, building the store. And also one thing when he described, and I think especially in the early times, and some people overlook that, there's two things what can happen when people start a business of three. It goes the way you plan it goes worse, or it goes much better. And the much better is not always healthy. And he described that situation where they worked through, and then they realized we still have to produce 500 liter sauce for tomorrow. And then the French guy came and said, you guys are a victim of your own success. I really like that.
Yeah. What I also liked, and it's a good learning and probably also a good advice for everyone out there, you won't die quickly. There's still room to go on, so you won't die quickly.
You don't die so quickly. Yeah. There's always room. When we talked about how much they had to sacrifice, they actually, because he also described that they had an amazing education and probably very demanding parents and all the languages and instruments. And they had to give up a lot. And they say, we paid a high price, but it didn't feel like we had to sacrifice something. But he also drew a very, very hard line and said we wouldn't sacrifice our family, our wives, our kids. So definitely on the spectrum, Florian, of family first or business first. Definitely on the end, together with Nene on the family first.
On the family side, that's also how they actually treat their people and how they build their company culture. I also liked his quote, think big, but also make things happen. So it's a little bit the rephrasing of the saying, under promise and over deliver. But I actually like that more because it still gives room for big thoughts and thinking big and good ideas.
And I think it also shows this sentence and probably will be a key sentence of our next white paper. An entrepreneur has on the one hand to be really up there on strategy, vision, think big, how the company gonna look in 20 years. And then they need to go down to execution and make things happen and repair that fucking dishwasher which is broken. And this skill set to be on the strategic and on the execution, I think he nailed with that sentence, think big, strategy, but make things happen, operation, execution.
Yeah. His advices or their advices for others, don't give up too quickly. You have to be persistent in a way. You have to build your resilience, business resilience, also out of that by not giving up too quickly.
And persistence was, I just read out because I don't remember the quote exactly, but in the white paper, and guys, please make sure you go to our website From Doubt to Thrive, and you're going to find the new white paper there summarizing the learnings of the first 25 interviews. Be resilient, persistent, and adaptable was one out of the 9 learnings we had there. So go and look it up, the white paper.
And it leads actually to his second advice, where he said, look for the reasons why you are struggling, when you are struggling, and then analyze your business. Because if you don't ask that question, you will not get the answer. And then you actually won't get out and back to drive.
Wow. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we did. But sharing is not just caring, it is also empowering. So recommend this podcast to fellow entrepreneurs who might need a dose of inspiration. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss out on future episodes. Thank you for being part of the community From Doubt to Drive Entrepreneurs Only. Mario and Florian are already gearing up for the next episode. Until then, stay tuned, stay driven, and we'll be back next week.